1937, the most famous female pilot in the world prepared for the most ambitious flight ever attempted. Her name was Amelia Earhart. At a time when aviation was still dangerous and unpredictable, she had already broken records that many believed impossible. She was the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. She had crossed continents and oceans, and she had become a global symbol of courage and adventure. But Amelia Earhart wanted to achieve something even greater. She wanted to become the first woman to fly around the entire world. The journey would cover nearly 30,000 miles, across deserts, across jungles, across the vast Pacific Ocean. It would be one of the longest and most dangerous flights in history. But Amelia Earhart was not afraid of danger. She had spent her entire life chasing the sky. And in the summer of 1937, she and her navigator prepared for the final and most dangerous leg of their journey. What happened next would become one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in aviation history, because somewhere over the endless waters of the Pacific Ocean, Amelia Earhart disappeared. No confirmed distress signal, no wreckage, no final goodbye. Nearly 90 years later, the mystery still remains unsolved. Amelia Earhart was born in 1897 in Atchison, Kansas. As a young girl, she was fascinated by adventure and exploration. At a time when many girls were expected to follow traditional roles, Amelia dreamed of doing something extraordinary. Her first flight in an airplane changed her life forever. The moment the aircraft lifted off the ground, she knew she had found her destiny. Within a few years, she began learning how to fly. Flying in those days was extremely dangerous. Aircraft were fragile, navigation tools were limited, and crashes were common. But Amelia quickly proved she had the courage and determination needed to become a great pilot. In 1928, she became the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean as a passenger. 4 years later, she achieved something even more impressive. She became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. The achievement made headlines around the world. Amelia Earhart became an international celebrity. But she wasn't interested in fame. She was interested in pushing the limits of what aviation could accomplish. And soon, she began planning the most ambitious flight of her career. In 1937, Amelia Earhart began her attempt to fly around the world. Her aircraft was a Lockheed Electra. It had been specially modified for long-distance travel. Extra fuel tanks were installed to allow the plane to travel greater distances without refueling. The journey would take her across continents and oceans. Her navigator for the journey was Fred Noonan, an experienced flight navigator who had guided aircraft across the Pacific before. Together, they began the long journey around the globe. The early stages of the flight went smoothly. They crossed South America. They crossed Africa. They crossed parts of Asia. Each successful landing brought them closer to completing the historic journey. But the most dangerous part of the flight was still ahead. Crossing the vast Pacific Ocean. Their next destination was one of the smallest islands in the world. A tiny strip of land known as Howland Island. Finding it would be like trying to locate a needle in a haystack. The island was only about 2 miles long, and it was surrounded by thousands of miles of open ocean. If they missed it, they would have nowhere to land. On July 2nd, 1937, Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan departed from Lae, New Guinea. Their destination was Howland Island. The flight would take approximately 20 hours. At first, everything seemed normal. The aircraft climbed into the sky and headed east across the Pacific. But as the hours passed, problems began to appear. Weather conditions were unpredictable. Heavy clouds made navigation more difficult. Radio communication with the ground became weaker. As the plane approached its destination, Amelia began sending radio messages to the ship stationed near Howland Island. She reported that fuel was running low. She also reported that she was having difficulty locating the island. The crew on the ship tried desperately to guide her toward the island using radio signals. But the signals were weak, and the aircraft continued searching the empty ocean. Amelia Earhart's final radio transmission was both calm and chilling. She said, "We must be on you, but cannot see you." She repeated that fuel was running low. The crew listening to the radio transmissions knew the situation was becoming dangerous. If the plane could not find the island soon, it might not have enough fuel to continue flying. Then suddenly, the radio transmissions stopped. There was no distress call, no emergency message, just silence. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan had vanished somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. The disappearance shocked the world. Within days, one of the largest search operations in history was launched. The United States government deployed ships and aircraft across the Pacific. Thousands of square miles of ocean were searched. Aircraft flew long missions scanning the surface of the water. Ships searched nearby islands. But the search teams found nothing. No wreckage, no oil slick, no floating debris. It was as if the aircraft had simply disappeared. After weeks of searching, the official rescue mission was called off. But the mystery had only just begun. Over the decades, many theories have emerged about what happened to Amelia Earhart. The most widely accepted theory is that the plane simply ran out of fuel and crashed into the Pacific Ocean. But other theories suggest something far more mysterious. Some researchers believe Amelia may have managed to land on a remote island after failing to find Howland Island. According to this theory, she may have survived as a castaway. Others have suggested that she may have been captured during political tensions in the Pacific. But there is no definitive evidence supporting these claims. Every few years, new clues appear. Fragments of metal, old photographs, radio signals that may or may not have come from the missing aircraft. Yet none of these clues have solved the mystery. Nearly 90 years have passed since Amelia Earhart disappeared. Yet the mystery continues to capture the imagination of people around the world. Modern technology has allowed researchers to search deeper parts of the ocean. Expeditions continue to explore remote islands. Scientists continue to analyze historical records. But the truth remains hidden. Somewhere in the vast Pacific Ocean, the final moments of Amelia Earhart's flight remain unknown. Was it simply a tragic accident? Or is the full story still waiting to be discovered? Until the plane is found, the disappearance of Amelia Earhart will remain one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history.